Right.
All right. Welcome, everybody, boys and girls from the DeFi world, to another Protocol FX broadcast here. We are excited to have everybody here today because we're going to be talking about kind of like a really cool topic that I think needs to get talked about more in DeFi, and that is just safety, right? Safe yields in DeFi. How different protocols are approaching this. What's the best way for users to think about safe yields in DeFi? And we are just thrilled, the A-team members here, myself, Cyril, CryptoVestor, DeFi Advisor. We are all super psyched to have some really special guests on today. And I guess we'll dive right into it and introduce these really kind folks to spend some time with us today. So we'll start off with Griff from Reserve Protocol. Griff, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for having me today. I am very excited to talk about this topic. Like you mentioned, I don't think sometimes doesn't get the airtime it deserves in the DeFi conversations. So to introduce myself first, I'm Griff from Reserve Protocol. I lead our strategy and operations here, and spend a lot of time working on our liquidity strategy for the R token products that are created on the Reserve ecosystem. And yeah, excited to talk a little bit about some of the products we have and how they meet this safety criteria for yield farming, and excited to talk about some partnerships and interoperability with some of the things that you guys also have going on FX.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much for that excellent introduction on yourself. And then our other special guest that we have today is GPMS from Beefy Finance. GPMS, please kindly introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Beefy, please.
Sure. My name is GPMS. I'm very happy to be here with all of you guys. This is a safe yield, stable podcast. Beefy being one of the largest yield optimizer, cross-chain yield optimizer in the space. Happy to be here and happy to talk about how Beefy works for the safety of basically all of users and DeFi in general.
Awesome.
Absolutely. We appreciate your services, sir. I think everybody on this call has used Beefy at one point or another to make the most efficient use of our funds in DeFi.
That's our goal.
Yeah.
It's like we're doing a great job.
Absolutely. And then just to run through some of our A-team friends that we got on the call here. Cyril, how are you, sir? Long time no see.
Yeah, long time no see, as you say. I'm pretty well. How about you?
Doing well, sir. And then we also have CryptoVestor, everyone's favorite alpha leaker.
How you doing, Kim? Thanks for having me here. Excited to talk stablecoins. So it's always an interesting topic for me.
Well, I would say you're safely a stablecoin maximalist, wouldn't you say that, CryptoVestor?
I am. Yeah. I think I am. Yeah, I've always been very bullish on stablecoins.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe that's everyone we have on the call at the moment. Oh, nope.
DeFi Advisor is here.
He's hiding over in the corner.
Yeah,
There's DeFi Advisor. DeFi Advisor, what's going on, man?
What's up, guys? Nice to be on. I don't know if I'd call CryptoVestor stablecoin maxi because I think he holds some other tokens.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
But they're all stablecoin related.
Yeah, they're stablecoin related. But he
I'm-
also like these tokens that are not exactly worth pegged to the dollar. Let's say.
No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm definitely a CVX maxi, and I have been for at least about 3 years. But it's the stablecoin world that kind of made me into a CVX maxi, and so
it's the stablecoin mindset.
Yeah, exactly. It's the curve-centric mindset.
I will allow you to wear the stablecoin maxi hat for the duration of this broadcast if you like.
Excellent.
So let's go ahead and kind of like sort of dive into this. Like, Cyril, I know that you probably have like a question teed up and ready to go for discussion for our guests. So you want to go ahead and launch into it?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions, obviously. I think it's probably interesting for us to introduce quickly what FX protocol is, and then I'd like to understand the way a Reserve works as well, and Beefy, obviously. But maybe let me introduce quickly what FX protocol is, because we are broadcasting on different X accounts today. So FX is basically a new stablecoin design, decentralized stablecoin design. The way it works is that it can take any yield-bearing asset and split it in two different assets. The first one is a perfectly decentralized and stable stablecoin, which is perfectly pegged to the dollar by design, and that will earn the yield of the yield-bearing asset, which is backing it. And the second kind of asset is a leverage token, giving up to 4.3x leverage on ETH, for instance, but without facing individual liquidation risk and without paying any funding fee. So that's the way FX works, and it already has a couple of different pairs being backed by different collaterals, all of them delivering some pretty nice yield while being perfectly pegged to the dollar. So that was a quick introduction to FX. And my first question is for you, Griff. I'd like to understand a little more how Reserve works, and especially EUSD. What's Reserve to start with?
Yeah, happy to talk about Reserve. So Reserve is a platform that's built on Ethereum mainnet and now Base and Arbitrum as well, that allows users to deploy and govern asset-backed currencies. We call them R tokens. And they're always one-to-one backed by the collateral assets that are designated in their basket. And there is permissionless minting and redeeming on chain for these assets. EUSD is, or electronic dollar, is the main stablecoin R token that we have. And it's backed by a basket of USDC that's lent out on Compound and Aave. I think Tether that's on Compound, and now SDAI is in there after a recent basket change by governance. And so all of these collateral assets are yield bearing, and what the protocol does is direct that yield, that revenue from the collateral assets towards the governance and over collateralization that comes from RSR, or reserve rights, which is the governance token of the protocol. And so people can stake their RSR on EUSD and in return earn that revenue from the collateral assets, and that provides them governance power over the R token and what's in the collateral basket. And they also provide over collateralization, or first loss capital, in the event of default of any of the underlying collaterals. And so EUSD, because it directs such a high ratio of its underlying revenue towards over collateralization, you can see that staked RSR is 76% of the collateral. There's 76% over collateralized.
Okay.
By the RSR governors, and so that provides an additional backstop in the event of any sort of black swan. And then of course there is also the collateral basket that's one-to-one backed as well. But the kind of what's most interesting about Reserve in my mind is the different levers that can be pulled on different R tokens. Governance has a wide range of flexibility to introduce new collaterals that they think are either safer or higher yield bearing. And then there's also parameters that can be changed on where to direct governance. EUSD in this example only directs its revenue at the over collateralization stakers, but there's other R tokens that direct the revenue towards the holders, and so the assets are actually yield bearing in that case. And then we've also had some other are tokens that have experimented with different destinations as well, such as using the revenue for liquidity incentives or for buybacks of a specific token. And so this is all really up to governance in terms of how they want to configure the specific product and what they want to optimize for. In the case of EUSD, safety is really the primary goal here of governance, and that's why, one, all of the assets in the basket are blue chip stable coins or blue chip assets on very safe lending protocols, and two, there's so much over collateralization from RSR.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So in a way, if I'm getting it correctly, it's some kind of a modular architecture to build stablecoins backed by other yield-bearing, like stablecoin generating yield. If I understood correctly. And
yeah, that's exactly correct. But it doesn't actually have to be stablecoins. It could be pegged to anything. We have an ETH-based product called ETH Plus, which is really just a basket of different LSTs. That's actually the largest one. I think it's 150 million market cap right now.
Yeah. Can you see the screen I'm sharing right now?
I can, yes.
Yeah. All right.
And so CryptoVest are exactly as you're saying. The collateral here is yield bearing, and in this case, it's the revenue from the underlying collateral is directed at the holder of the token, and so the token appreciates in value.
Interesting.
Okay, makes sense.
And it's done through a staking mechanism, right? There's no VE tokenomics with RSR yet.
No, not yet. Although we are in discussions with our community and how to further develop growth and.
Yeah, I know there were discussions about doing something with some type of VE model a while back.
Okay, this is very interesting, and so we're here to talk about safe yield strategies and so on. And what I really appreciate browsing on your UI is that you describe them pretty well, because in the first place, the first question I ask myself is why building a stablecoin backed by other stablecoins, basically? And that's very interesting to understand the way you direct the underlying yield to bring some kind of other layer of safety in case of one of these stablecoins having a problem that, like we've seen earlier, for instance, with USDC. So the different layers of risk are very well explained here, such as what's the token risk, what's the platform risk, because they are all staked on different protocols, and the other risk are also explained here. That's pretty well done, and so congrats on that. I find it very interesting. And
yeah, thank you. I think a big kind of value add from this design is the diversification, as you mentioned, of exposure to different protocols and assets, and then of course the over collateralization from the RSR stakers.
I have a quick question, Griff. Is the over collateralization, is that a set number, or is that just set by governance? Like right now, that was 76% for EUSD. Is that just a number that's arbitrarily set by governance, or is there some kind of modeling taking effect in the background?
So that's actually, I guess you would say, it's set by the market, because governance determines how much of the underlying revenue to send towards stakers, and based on that proportion of the revenue, and then what the actual revenue is, so how high yield the underlying assets are, it will give a staking percentage, or the stakers will receive a percentage.
Right, and the rest goes to over collateralization, I guess.
Well, so depending on how high that percentage is, it will incentivize more or less over collateralization.
Interesting. Okay, got it.
Griff, I have a question. The EUSD, and these are like really cool products, by the way, that you guys have put together. Um, I noticed it was, if I recall correctly, you've seen the screenshot there. It was about like 4 different collaterals that made it up. Are those creating these R tokens? Is it permissionless? Does the collateral change? Is it changed by basically a governance mechanism, or is that by the users? Or I'm just curious, like if a person buys EUSD, is there is that collateral always going to be the same, or will it change over time? Or
Yeah. So the collateral in the baskets can be changed through governance of the specific R token, and each R token kind of forms a mini DAO of itself because it's governed by the stakers of RSR on that specific token. And so the amount of RSR you stake determines the gov power you hold for that token. And then through that, there's regular governance process votes and proposals to change the collateral, which can be approved or disapproved by the community. And then if a user disagrees with that, they can either unstake and move to a new R token, or they can exit their position of the USD as well.
Okay, that's interesting.
yeah, that's a cool architecture for kind of creating sort of a meta stablecoin protocol. Yeah, very cool.
That's very cool.
And
So
it's possible for anyone to like spin one up. That's what my impression that I had at one point about RSR was that anybody can create an R token or with different backings, or is that not the case?
Yeah, it's totally permissionless. You actually don't even need RSR to create one. You would just need RSR if you want to govern, participate in governance of one. And so I think there's over 1,000 that have been created, mostly on L2s like Base. And if you can, see some of the different backings that people are experimenting with, and it'll be interesting to see, what the winner is and what people choose as, especially the governance RSR stakers choose as the safest and the best product.
Right.
yeah, that's a really cool design. So we kind of understood the risk exposure of USD here, and I have probably an announcement to make to the people watching this space. There's a pool on Curve with EUSD and FXUSD. So you guys probably already understood the exposure of EUSD. I think it's probably the right time to give you an idea of the risk of FXUSD. And I know that Kemet, you already only have a couple of minutes left. Do you want to go with this question?
Sure, I'm happy to. Yeah.
Yeah. So can you maybe explain us what's the risk of FXUSD and how? I think that most of the time people want to understand how well a stablecoin can keep the peg. That's probably the biggest risk they want to assess before going into any yield strategy, because the yield always have to pay for the risk. So can you maybe give us a little overview of that?
Yeah, so FXUSD is the flagship stablecoin for Protocol FX. It is backed by 2 different LSTs, liquid staking tokens. That's Lido Staked ETH and also Frax ETH. And it's it can users can deposit various stable coins or those LSTs into the vault, and they can mint 1 for 1 for $100 of whatever those tokens are there that you see on the screen that it takes, and you can get $100 worth of FXUSD or whatever the routing options provide at the time. So it maintains its peg thanks in part to kind of a cool token that absorbs all of the volatility that the backing assets have. And so obviously, as the price of Lido staked ETH goes up and down, or Frax ETH goes up and down, that volatility needs to be absorbed somewhere, and it is absorbed by these X tokens that are sort of on the other side of the FXUSD trade. And those X tokens allow people to take on additional price exposure to those underlying assets. Basically, you have an effective leverage token. So it's a novel DeFi primitive, this system. And
there's a pretty nice route right there. I don't know if you notice it, but 1 million USDC gives you 1.6 million FXUSD. So I don't know what's going on here, but if you got a million to ape, that's probably a good deal.
There you go.
I want that opportunity.
So for Justin Sun watching this today, there's your alpha.
Sorry to interrupt you. I'm kind of impressed. I don't know what is going on.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
1 inch rally. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's basically the overview of FXUSD. We have
That's it.
Quite a bit of pools on Curve. There's a good bit of liquidity, but the liquidity is basically as freely available as Lido staked ETH or Frax ETH as well. And users can mint those and then place them in either the stability pools, which help the FXUSD maintain peg by redeeming it back into the various assets that help protect it from that volatility. Or they can place it into the Curve pools like any other tokens, and of course, Reserve has one with EUSD, and of course, the Beefy finance guys can tell you all about the LP tokens and how those work on Curve Finance and integrate with their protocol as well.
Sure thing. I'm glad to and proud to say that Beefy Finance is where we all meet. Where there's meet FX, and we are basically the hub for people to participate in DeFi opportunities. Beefy Finance, for the people who maybe don't know what the protocol is a yield optimizer. So basically, our job is automate the process of the users interacting with farms or liquidity pools to automate the process of getting the rewards and basically reinvest it for them, creating an auto-compounding cycle that will basically boost your APY through time. We have obviously a lot of products from Reserve. We have USD, USD3. We have ETH Plus, as Griff said, is one of their biggest assets right now. We also have FXUSD, that would be the stablecoin of the FX protocol, and I believe we have FXN too in one of our bolts. And yeah, we basically in Beefy we have two type of products. We have the vaults, which is our main product. That is the explanation I just gave, and we have a new product that is called the CLM. That we basically are working hard to push it out to be able to open the door for a lot of people who haven't participated in V3 liquidity without having to actively manage it, which a lot of us can say is kind of a headache because you have to be every time fixing your ranges, taking your rewards and all those kind of things. So yeah, the CLM is basically our concentrated liquidity manager, pun intended. And we basically only need the user to deposit their liquidity in our CLM, and we just take it from there. We basically manage all the ranges and make sure the user is always trying to get the best APR out there.
That's really cool. I had no idea you built an automated concentrated liquidity manager.
So, yeah, that's new. I didn't know about that.
That's very interesting.
It's a new product. I think we rolled it out. If my mind is right? We rolled it out of beta, I think, almost a month or two ago. So
Okay.
it's a fairly new product, but it has been widely accepted through the community. I believe we have over 40 million TVL already
Okay.
in that specific product. So it has been a great launch, and people are definitely using it.
That's really cool, especially in Aerodrome and Velodrome, which didn't have any like really good user interface to manage concentrated liquidity. That's really cool to have built this. I had a question because I was browsing the EUSD FX USD pool, and as you can see, since we're talking about safe yield, there's this little I don't know who's I notice here saying the underlying contracts of this FX protocol vaults do not meet all Beefy's SAFU requirement. Can you tell us a little more about this? Because I can imagine it could be maybe a little scary for the users coming to this page.
Yeah, the thing is, I'll first explain what we do with the safe requirements. If you can bring the page a little bit down, we have a little box that it says safety score that we implement basically in all our bolts and CLM, and we just have basically a checklist of different safe requirements that we have to at least we promote do your own research always
Yeah,
to
yeah.
our community. Well, but we basically guide them with some pretty basic things that we think it's important to for users to have in mind. In this specific case, is because we require that every implementation change that the underlying asset can be must be in time lock. This
Yeah,
doesn't this doesn't directly means that it's unsafe. Just that we prefer to be time lock in case of something bad happens. We have time to act to protect our users.
yeah.
Uh, it
Makes,
had
makes
it
sense.
had happened quite a bit in the past when since we have these kind of requirements we have time to act before something bigger happens, and we like to protect our community like pretty much everyone who has used Beefy knows that security is basically our number one priority,
Mm.
and we are proud to say that we have been live since 2020 and we haven't had a single issue in our platform.
Congrats. That's
So
awesome. That's
something.
awesome.
Sorry.
I said congrats. That's awesome.
Oh, thank
Yeah,
you, thank you. It's something that we just take very serious, and since our community is basically a lot of people who uh, wait for us to deploy something or get to a chain or implement an asset to just participate in it, we feel a big responsibility for uh, taking care of the users.
yeah,
So in this
yeah,
case, I like to repeat: it doesn't mean that the asset is unsafe. It's
yeah.
just that it doesn't get with one of our checks, and we are
Makes
basically.
sense. On that matter, I have a pretty good news. But first, I think it's probably important to explain our viewers what a time lock is, and maybe briefly, I can try to explain it easily. So, some contracts on Ethereum are immutable. So that means they cannot be changed. That's very unlikely because you can't afford any mistake on the contract, because if that's the case, you can change it. So many contracts are behind proxies. That means they can be upgraded, and that's the case of FX Protocol's contract, because the protocol is 1 year old and it's evolving, it's improving, and it needs time before going the most immutable as possible. So it's still upgradable, and these upgrades can be done like instantly. And having a time lock means that you push the upgrade and everyone can see it, and it only goes into production. I don't know if it's the correct term because I'm not a tech guy, but
Yeah, it is.
it goes live.
You're explaining it
Sorry?
very well. Yeah, you're you're explaining just how it is.
Okay, cool, awesome. So yeah, the time lock means that you push the contract on the blockchain. Everyone can see it, but it's not live yet. It goes live only a couple of days or hours later, so that if people notice that the new contract coming live in a couple of days is compromised, they can withdraw the funds before. So that's what a time lock is. And so, as you correctly said, the no time lock feature doesn't mean it's dangerous. And as a matter of fact, Aladdin DAO has been around for the past 4 years, and FX Protocol is the third protocol launched by Aladdin DAO, and there has been no issues, same as you with Beefy. So we also take safety very, very seriously. That's probably the number one priority as well. And the time lock feature is coming. It's going to be implemented before the end of the year, so it's coming. So that's the good news of today.
Yeah, I have to say, I think that Aladdin has always prioritized safety as its number one priority. So, it's been around for a long time. It's developed several products. And now with their stable coins, their models, also very, very safe. So yeah, it's one of their hallmarks for sure. I think that's important to reiterate.
All right. So we've seen that this pool we built together with FX Protocol and Reserve delivers pretty nice APR on Beefy. So if you guys want to join the pool, you can just simply scan this QR code, or it should direct you to the page I just shown previously. Is there any question? Maybe DeFi advisor, do you have a question regarding all we discussed so far?
I've been mostly learning from you guys so far. It's honestly really cool. What's the percentage again? Can you show the pool again?
Sure. Let me hide this.
And someone can come basically with, do you have to have the stablecoin in advance, or can you zap different assets while you do it?
Oh, that's a very good question. We built a tool that we call the Beefy Zap. If Cyril can click that little cow button that says select, you will see a range of assets that if you have in your wallet, you can just select the asset that you want. You can put wherever quantity you want, and we basically will give you a quote on what. Oh yeah, it will give you a quote indicating the aggregator that we're gonna use, how your LP is gonna be swapped, and all the steps that you're gonna take to deposit into the vault, and you can do it only in one transaction. So that helps a lot with the users that are not so experienced as maybe
it's
us
really
are.
cool.
Definitely.
And where does it route it from? How does it aggregate a trade if necessary? For what?
In this case, KyberSwap popped up, but as far as I know, we have a couple of AMMs, so you could select a route directly in Curve. That's the best route possible. 1inch KyberSwap, it evaluates different routes and just tells the user what would be the best route for their money and just retaining value. You can also select the slippage down the page and select if you want more broad slippage for work with. And yeah, you only have to click the button deposit and we'll take care of it. And we will deposit into your vault, and then the position will be presented in your personal dashboard. That it's also a cool feature that we have. Every user has their own dashboard with their own information of the balls they're deposited, their P&L, and all the basically the data that the user wants to be able to visualize.
That's really cool. I just want to add that if as you may have seen, when you put a large amount, if you want to go with a large amount, you may want to check other routes, especially using CowSwap, for instance, because as you may have understood when Kemet explained the way FX protocol works, FX USD is as liquid as Lido staked ETH by design, because it can be always minted and redeemed at Oracle price using FX protocol itself. And this minting and redeeming function is routed by CowSwap and a couple of aggregators such as, maybe not FX USD. So it's mostly routed by CowSwap or using our own UI. You can have the 1-inch routing and so on. But 1inch and KyberSwap don't route the protocol yet themselves. So that means when you put, like I put $1 million USDC here, you see it will use KyberSwap and to swap $1 million USDC for EUSD. But you may get more FX USD by using FX protocol itself. So you may want to check just on the UI here on FX protocol if you want to mint $1 million FX USD with USDC, for instance, or using CowSwap. But the FX protocol UI will compare the different routes as well, including the CowSwap route. So you may just want to check this if you're considering. Yeah, that's the case. If you're considering going with a large amount, you may want to check here as well. But yeah, it does the ZAP function, ZAP feature is definitely awesome. If you add CowSwap routing, then you may have even better efficiency on that pool.
Yeah, I'll bring it back to the team. That's a good detail.
Yeah,
that's a good point, Cyril, and actually reminds me of another really interesting feature of this pool specifically, in that both assets, FX USD and EUSD, are permissionlessly redeemable for their underlying on the Reserve Protocol and on FX Protocol. And so, while EUSD and FX USD both have fairly deep liquidity on exchanges, a couple million, if I remember correctly, users don't have to rely on that and don't have to face that slippage. They can just redeem to the underlying assets, which have much deeper liquidity. And so it's just that first order liquidity that makes these assets a lot more safer to farm in and a lot easier to get in and out of.
So is that the way you will? So, like, for instance, if I go with $1 million, I get $1 million EUSD, right? Or maybe I should connect first. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you would just be then subject to the slippage between USDC and the other underlying assets, like USD and USDT. But it would be a lot less than trying to trade USDC with EUSD on a DEX.
So if you have EUSD and you want to get the underlying assets, do you do that here as well? And do you get like the actual 4 assets that back it?
Yeah, exactly. So you can redeem it, and you can either use our ZAP to redeem into one single asset, or if you want to manually do it, Cyril, at the bottom, there's a manual redemption button, and you can just get exchange one for the underlying.
Nice. So you can have all 4 assets, or you could zap out into one asset that you prefer.
Exactly.
Nice.
That's really cool. And what's is it like a DEX pool in the backend, like to handle the different collaterals, or?
Actually, right now they're just being held and aren't in like an AMM style vault. So the ratios are always fixed at the numbers set by governance, and in that way you'll always have the amount to redeem of the underlying.
Okay, that's pretty interesting.
So guys, what's the APR on the pool again? Can you remind?
25% that I think I saw.
It's kind of crazy for a stablecoin.
Yeah.
No?
Pretty high.
It is. It is.
That's the magic of auto compounding.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Let's take a look at the chat, see if there are questions here. No, not so much. If you guys are watching right now, feel free to ask any question. We're always happy to answer live. And also feel free to share that broadcast, because we want everyone to hear about that crazy strategy and hear about us. So feel free to share and comment and give some traction to this broadcast. It's very helpful. And thank you in advance.
By the way, guys, I don't know, if you don't necessarily answer, but can you maybe share a bit about like how this kind of process of composing this? Because I can only imagine that the reason that we can get such high percentage is because of the specific composability and like integration that you guys have created while you were working on the pool. So maybe you can like share a bit with me and the audience, like how did that process happen? How did you like started thinking about it, approached each other, and how long did it take till the product is out? Because I actually think it touches on a very important point of composability, which really allows us to open new things. And it takes these, all these protocols that we all are either working with or a part of or whatever, and really demonstrates that our biggest power is once we learn how to like leverage on each other rather than just doing stuff individually.
Yeah, makes sense. I don't know exactly when you, because I wasn't contributing as much as today when Reserve and FX started working together. Were you around already?
Yeah, I can probably give some explanation here. Reserve, as part of our incentive strategy, we have a position to direct curve incentives through CVX. And when FX Protocol launched, there was the natural synergy there of VL CVX holders being able to direct FXN emissions, right?
Exactly.
And so we approached you guys, or I think Paul was who I was working with to launch one of these pools, because it made sense to take advantage of both of our governance power positions. These two assets are both pretty interesting stable coins, and we thought it would be a good opportunity for farmers and a good opportunity for both of our stable coins to work together and grow TBL and grow exposure.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, because it's probably good to remind that when FX launched, it launched with FXN. FXN is a governance token, but it's also a revenue sharing token, and can be emitted on the different FX protocol strategies, including the LPs with the FX protocol stablecoins. And for other stablecoins, it's a very attractive strategy, because not only are they pairing with a perfectly pegged stablecoin, so that strengthens their own peg. But it's not your case, Griff, because your stables are perfectly stable as well, because they're always redeemable for the underlying. But for some algorithmic or CDP stablecoins, it's important to be paired with a perfectly pegged stablecoin. But at the same time, since our stablecoins are instantly redeemable for the collateral, in that case with FXUSD, it can be Lido Stake ETH or Frax ETH. That means that you're building instant liquidity with Stake ETH and Frax ETH at the same time. So it's very interesting to pair with FXUSD, and it also gives you a pretty interesting leverage on the incentive that you can send. Obviously, you already have a good CVX bag as a DAO, but some other stablecoins don't, and they may want to direct incentives using incentive markets such as Paladin or Votium or Vote Market from StakeDAO, for instance. And that's a pretty good opportunity for the stablecoins to build efficient liquidity with FXUSD.
Very well said. Very well said. Yeah. So in Reserve's case, because of their large governance stake in Convex, and because FX has a relationship with Convex and is one of the tokens that Convex brought into their fold, because Reserve and other stablecoin protocols have sizable amounts of CVX, it makes sense for them to direct emissions similar to Curve to their pools. So I think that's why you've seen a lot of stablecoin projects trying to pair with FXUSD. They want the liquidity with Lido Stake ETH and Frax ETH, and they also want, because they have the ability to direct those emissions either by voting or by vote incentives, bribing. Just makes sense. It's just makes sense from a logistics point of view, from my perspective.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to the strategy that you guys created with launching FX and your partnership with Convex to really get the most out of the composability there, and basically kind of automatically onboard all these other protocols have an interest in FX and some of the other tokens on your platform. And so
sometimes it creates a little bit of an unfair advantage, but hey, this is the market, and it just tells a story about how the governance power is really important, especially and I think we mentioned CVX in the beginning, but it is a very powerful tool, as far as being able to wield the FXN emissions and the Curve emissions and other emissions in the future, hopefully.
Unfair advantages are how businesses work, no?
Yeah, and is it exactly unfair? I mean, it's for the CVX holders, it's been kind of a roller coaster this past few months. So it's I mean, if you stick, you hold it, you take a risk as well. So
yeah, true. Like there's two sides of the token. By the way, guys, I don't know. Like maybe for us, we're so deep into it that we don't care anymore. But CVX used to cost like at some point like $60, and it costs, I don't know, like today around $3 probably. Yeah. So there are some people that probably went into CVX and are still in a very significant loss. But again, two sides to the tokens. Who knows what happens tomorrow, both to the price. And for those who actually hold the CVX, like ourselves, or especially someone who's really into it, like CryptoVestor, they're doing it for the cash flow. They're doing it for the long run.
Yeah, it's a cash flow asset. That's kind of how we saw it. Like that's how I see it. The bigger point is, if you believe in stable coins are the future, and I think that Curve is probably at least one of the major homes for stable coins. I'm not saying it's the only one. There's many players out there, but that's my thesis. And I think that long term there's going to be a lot of exchange of stable coins on Curve, and if that's the case, then I think Convex plays a major role down the road. So. We'll have to see. We'll have to see how it plays out. But I think it's already proven, early on, even with pools like the ones we're discussing today, it has a major effect on attracting liquidity to these pools, especially as it relates to the FXN emissions.
Yeah, and as you said, it's a cash flow token, like because it gets revenue from the protocol, and so does FXN. And I kind of like these kind of tokens because. Like a dollar today is worth more than $1 tomorrow, and we can't predict the price. So it was good to get like some real yield over your token. And obviously, there's some new solutions abstracting the volatility of a token and still giving the underlying yield. And that's exactly what FX Protocol is doing. So
yeah, absolutely.
For those interested, I won't go too far on that path, but we recently raised CVX USD, which is staked CVX pair created on FX protocol. So that's a stable strategy earning the staked CVX yield. But you can DYOR on that. Because it's probably a good time to wrap up this broadcast. It's been an hour already almost. So if there's any question in the audience, now is the time to ask them. Do you guys want to add something before we wrap up this broadcast?
I want to add maybe my question from before. Like, maybe in a few words, like how do these different protocols, FX, Reserve, Beefy, how do they complement each other? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, if you look at the way the yield, I mean, in FX's case, right, it's taking the yield from ETH staking, right? And the yield that's being given up by the leverage holders, right? The leverage token holders. So all of that ETH staking yield is going to the stability pools for FX, and in EUSD's case, right, they're taking the underlying yield from all these different strategies across the lending markets, and so Beefy is kind of like taking the best of both, right? It's taking all of those yields and it's auto compounding into more of the underlying, right? More stablecoins. So that's how you get that higher 25% yield. We're basically combining the power of both protocols and using Beefy as a meeting point.
Yeah, in that case, I believe the Beefy strategy is built on top of the EUSD FXUSD pair and convex. So it's not exactly the yield of the underlying, which is compounded here, but it's
that's a good point.
The FXN yield on the convex pair, which is compounded into more EUSD and more FXUSD. Tell me if I'm wrong, GPMS.
Because I didn't know.
Oh, you're correct. What the user will get at the end is more LP of EUSD and FXUSD. Yeah.
Okay. So it's a convex strategy.
Like the synergy for the two protocols is like for Reserve, it's interesting because they can build. They are building a yield strategy for their community pairing with FXUSD, so it's the case for FXUSD, and by taking liquidity off the main strategy, which is the stability pool, for instance, for FXUSD, by taking liquidity off while offering another yield opportunity, it's making the yield of the stability pool higher as well. And I believe there's probably something like that for Reserve as well. And it's just giving yield opportunities for the users and more traction and visibility for the assets.
Correct.
Yeah, and I think it's like a spider web of tracing it back to all the underlying assets and how they earn yield, and it's converging all in this Beefy pool. And so, by one user being in this pool, they're earning yield from all these different sources in DeFi, or either yield or benefiting from safety of over collateralization of some sort. And so it makes it very user friendly, kind of abstracts away some of the complex underlying logic, and is.
Yeah, I mean, like if you really think about it, I mean, there's yield coming from ETH staking, right? On the FX side, there's yield coming from Aave, right, on EUSD and Compound. Those are the two protocols that are being used, right? Or was there another one?
And SDAI.
And SDAI, right? So you're literally getting the mixture of all of these yields in one, in one place, and getting extra LP tokens, right? On the Beefy side.
That's insane. How much money is in the pool right now? Does it say?
On Beefy, it says, that's 700, almost 800K.
So 800,000.
Wow. When did it open, by the way?
Oh, it's been a couple of months already.
Oh.
I think, yeah. It's been a couple of months.
And DeFi is so insane. Like
The
the kind of stuff
sorry.
coming out right, I'm saying the kind of stuff coming out right now, allowing like these kinds of like percentages on stable coins. This is insane. This is so weird. Like we're seeing like the tiny waves before the tiny waves that before the tiny waves. You know what I mean?
Yeah, what's interesting, if you think about it, in the last cycle, like, it was crazy because Luna was giving out 20% APR, right? And now, in a decentralized way, we can get up to 25% APR in a very safe way now. It's like, it's definitely matured a lot. Like, what's coming now is pretty crazy in the future, I think, as far as yields go.
And it's all auditable
Yeah.
on chain.
On chain.
You can trace
Decentralized, no counterparty risks. You know, it's
And
really, really impressive what's being
those
built.
who own the capital, I think that with Luna, it was actually a very good demonstration to the fact that when you do offer people like a product that serves 20% on their stable coins, like people were flocking in. You know what I mean? Once it was really a bull market, and like people could have done it. Like listen, for a tiny investor like myself, I don't care that much, to be honest, because I don't have a big enough amount of money to put there and tell myself, okay, I'll park $1 million there, I'll do $250,000, all good. Yeah. But for those who do, this is actually such an insane way to do it. Yeah. So once confidence comes back and people feel safe to actually try and put significant funds into these, we can see like incredible amounts of money pouring into these vaults and strategies. And I do believe like, stable coins are probably the most interesting narrative in my mind.
Yeah, it is.
Regarding the financial aspects of stuff, like, because I'm also very into like other usages of blockchain. I think that we haven't seen even the beginning of sports betting on chain and gaming on chain and a lot of stuff. But I think
and all of those things are going to require stable coins, you know.
Yeah, it's
all of those things.
You will need stable coins to do that as well.
I think just today they announced that Tether did a record quarter, 5.2 billion or 5.8 billion, something like that. It's the biggest cash machine out there. And so
how much again did you? How much?
5.2 billion, I think, for the quarter.
5.2 billion a quarter.
20 billion a year
for issuing stable.
No, income. Revenue.
Yeah.
No, but their business is actually like $5 billion
valuation.
That's where we all want to be, right, Griff?
Right.
Like we're trying, it's just look at Tether. Tether's a money printer, and it
is.
They're not sharing it with any of their Tether holders, which is what Reserve is trying to do, which is what FX is trying to do, and so one of these decentralized stablecoins is going to hit, and maybe several actually, maybe 2 or 3.
There's room for different design.
For a lot of them, absolutely. And I think you're going to start seeing different euro stable coins too. And I mean, there's no reason for it to just be the dollar. There should be other denominations. So the future is pretty bright, I think. I mean, you have now a lot of politicians talking about stable coins, a lot of legislation being done, across the world. So it's very clear that this is going to be a future technology for money. It's just, a matter of being in the race.
The next step, which will be interesting to see, we have all these interesting stablecoin designs as financial products, but mostly being used for farming, and it'll be great to see when they're actually used for payments and transfer of value.
Yeah. And as rates come down, as the Fed rates and Fed rates around the world, right, come down, then there's going to be a bigger incentive for people to chase yields. And here we are offering 25%, 30%, 40%, depends on where you are, but very, very high yields in a very safe manner. And I think you're going to start seeing that pour into the crypto markets and into the stablecoin markets as time passes.
100%. Yeah.
All right, guys. I think.
All right. It's been a pleasure having this space with you guys.
Yeah,
it was a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming. It was let's do that another time.
For sure.
All right. Well, I wish you guys a good rest of the day or evening, depending on where you are. And see you probably next week for another 18 broadcast.
Amen. So thanks a lot for hosting. It was really fun. Thanks, guys.
Take care, guys.
Thanks, everyone.